Dude, I'm so freaking pumped. I've literally been sitting at my computer just like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay, I'm just really happy to see you guys and talk to you. I'm so proud of you guys. Oh my gosh.
Meet the co-founders of Wild Hunt Media, Peter and Tommy. I met these guys in 2018 working on a short film. Shout out to Shirley Norman. Go check her out too. They were all involved in the Clayton State Film Certificate Program, which has definitely played a huge role in where they are today. So I'll let them tell you a little bit about themselves and their journeys.
My name is Tommy Stein. I am a local Atlanta independent producer and co-founder of Wild Hunt Media. I've been doing film stuff since about 2014 when I took a program through Clayton State University's continuing education program, and now I work for that program.
It's Peter Swanson. I'm a writer and director, AD, podcaster, and a bunch of other stuff from the Atlanta area.
I was the operations coordinator for the Film and Digital Media Center, which is under Clayton State's continuing education program. We had a guy come in January of 2017 named Glenn Beard, and he immediately set to and built this Film and Digital Media certificates. And we launched the first of that in September of 2017, and Peter was in our first group to go through there. So I wasn't teaching at the time. Through that, he and I built a bond.
Which is the Clayton State Film Program. And while I was there, the first thing that I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to kind of blend in and just like learn from all these other people. And I had things in like the early days of being like, cool. So I need to like find good teammates people because I don't want to be in charge of anything. Like I just kind of want to I want to work on this, but I want to be along for the ride. And like that person looks artsy. I should hang out with them because they're going to be good at this. And yeah, that was like day one. And then, halfway through when we get to workshop one, then we're pitching scripts and my script gets picked. It's like, well, I guess I'm directing now. That's interesting. I didn't think that I was going to plan on doing that, but sure. And it's kind of been a run of that for the last couple years.
One of the crazy places Peter and Tommy have found themselves is as the co-founders of Wild Hunt Media. After working on a couple of projects together through the program at Clayton State and on their own, they came to an important decision.
A day or two after we wrapped Sanctuary, Tommy and I were on the phone. We're like, so what happens next? And I was like, I think we have to keep doing this. Like this world is too big. Our idea for the effective world, we need something that's gonna, oversee that, and it's going to be able to control all of that. And so we're like, all right, well, I guess we're looking at starting a company, which was a terrifying thing to say.
I think quite specifically, you said on the phone, so we need to start a production company now, right? I think that might have been your exact words. And I was like, oh, yeah.
But we started there, and the next day I was like, well, I'm going to go write a script because I want to do something with this. And then I wrote a script, and then we're like, well, we're going to go shoot it. And then, so we decided to go shoot it. And then coming out of that, it's like, well, what do we do now? It's like, well, this is a really big idea, and so I guess we're going to found a company and start like putting all of our eggs into that basket. And it's been an intentional like force of will of being like, let's keep pushing. But at no point in time was it like, I want to have I always wanted to do a podcast? Absolutely. But there's no point where I was like, it's time for a podcast. It was just more of a like, we hit a situation where it's like, we should launch this podcast. Like, okay, I guess we're doing that now. And a lot of it has just been like a lot of, okay, well, let's go ahead and do it. And Shoal was a big one of those where I had this big idea, and I wrote a couple short stories before, but I'm like, I can't film this because I don't have the budget for it. So I'm just going to keep writing it and then hope, and it's going to turn into a novel. And it terrified me to say that out loud for the first however long. So I don't know, I called it a continuing ongoing story for like 3 or 4 months because I was afraid to use the word novel. And yes, I did. Tommy knows that. Tommy and Amanda would both.
I will not label this.
Yes, no. Tommy and Amanda would go novel, and I'd be like continuing story, like novel, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm just kind of taking big swings and stuff and working on as much as I possibly can because I don't like free time.
Yeah.
One of the things we really want to do with Wild Hunt Media is have a group of collaborators, creative people who are looking for opportunities for people to be around to help them get off their butts and do something. And I mean, even if that's just getting in a room and talking with them about their ideas and letting them know, because a lot of the creatives that we both know are people who look at their ideas and go, well, this sucks. And it doesn't suck. It really doesn't. It may need some work, but it's good almost 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And so we'll get in there and we'll be like, okay, you're being too hard on yourself. And we both know this because I feel like I especially do this, but giving them that extra push, that getting the voice outside of their head of like, no, you're doing good work, keep going.
Peter and Tommy have built this awesome community where creators can collaborate and get another set of eyes on their work. I always wonder how people do this, how they get production companies off the ground. I think a lot of production companies are born out of creators wanting to get their own work out there. So in many cases, it means multiple jobs and packing in your spare time with your passion projects.
Right now, I personally have like 4 jobs. Basically, I bartend as a day job. I teach at Clayton State at nights, and then I freelance film production as an AD. And then my 4th job is all the Wild Hunt Media stuff, which basically means that that's my nights and those are my weekends and that's my days off. It means, my day off, I'm still up at 7 a.m. because I've got a laundry list of things to move through, and days off are kind of as intense as days on are. And it's not to say that everything is always all go, and I think there is something to be learned about not completely locking into that one and allowing some amount of breath in there. But it's you find the soft spots and you find the times in the day that you can make things work. And whether it be I've got an hour right now in between these 2 things, I'm going to go hammer out 2 pages because I have time that I can knock that out. Or, I've got time, so I'm going to start prepping something for the podcast. Or like it's finding those all of the little like margins in the day are where I try to make up the most time. Like
with Clayton State, I'm very fortunate. I have an extremely flexible job. The whole department is 2 people, and my boss is insanely understanding. And I'm also near creatives. Like, again, if I didn't have this job, probably wouldn't have met Peter. And I continue to meet people as I get better. I'm teaching now. I started teaching out of necessity. The person that I mentioned earlier, Glenn Beard, he passed away in 2018. And Peter and I, his wife actually is my boss now. She took over the program after he passed, and she basically one day emailed me, and Peter was like, so you guys are teaching? And I think it was like 3 days before it started or something like that, or like a week or whatever. So, again, very fortunate. I have my job with Clayton State's Continuing Education Department. I teach through that. Like Peter said, finding time between all of the moments. I'm a very easily distracted person. And I have games on my phone, which I shouldn't because I am so easily distracted. So I'll be like, I need to try to finish this script or whatever. And next thing I know, I'm in my phone playing a dumb game. But my job isn't 9 to 5 necessarily. I mean, I work 40 hours a week, but I like having a flipped around schedule. Every 7 weeks, because of our classes, my schedule changes. And I find that keeps me more fresh. It makes me reassess every week or so how I'm getting everything done that I need to get done. And if I find that I do work better in the morning, I can build my schedule around that. If I get better stuff done in the evening, I have the flexibility to do trial and error, find out what works best for me. And that, I think that really works for me.
This has been the question on my mind for the past few years as I've been diving into this journey of chasing my dreams. What kind of jobs do you find? Is it based on flexibility, adaptability, or are you looking for jobs that also fulfill a sense of purpose? Is it both? I don't know, but what I do know is that when you're in the position of needing to work other jobs in order to keep chasing your dreams, it's pretty exhausting. and at times it can be isolating. It's really hard telling your friends that you can't hang out because you're working on your own projects. That being said, it's also important that you stop and make sure you're carving out time to have fun outside of your endeavors, of your dream chasing. And of course, finding that solid community of creators to share the ride is pretty important too.
The real way to get better is to work with others and to push each other and to kind of give each other feedback and bounce off. And you never know where that the right one line or thing like that is going to just someone will say something like, "Oh my God, that's brilliant. Never thought about that." And that can come from anywhere, and it does tend to come from just anywhere. And that's why we like having people around and in the room, because the more people we have around, the more ideas you get.
Yeah.
I am somebody who has never been good at putting myself out there. Most of the excellent opportunities I have had are because I was in my opinion, are because I was in the right place at the right time or talking to the right person. You can't get in those situations if you're just sitting in your house watching TV. You really do have to put yourself out there. Like if I had never taken that program through Clayton State, I wouldn't be anywhere. So many of the things we're talking about here, I may have other things and I may still be creative or whatever, but if I hadn't taken that, there's a very good chance I never would have met Peter. I never would have gotten even possibly into film stuff. So I really do think it starts with, as cliche as this sounds, putting your feet forward. I do think that social media groups and things like that are extremely helpful, especially in this space where we can't really go out and meet people. And I think if you're smart, you can use those to find your people. But if you don't look for your people, you can't find them, obviously. But also it is a lot of trial and error. I've had multiple partnerships before Peter and I came together, and some of those people I'm still friends with, some of them I don't really see anymore, not because something bad happened. It didn't click, it didn't work long term. And that's gonna happen. And you know this as an actor, you get rejection all the time. That doesn't mean you're not good. It just means it didn't work for that project. So having thick skin, which I don't, and being willing to get back up and keep going when things don't go the way that you wanted them to, that's key. And then it's just putting yourself out there until you finally meet somebody or people where you mesh with and you're getting that fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
I do think if you want to do something and figure out the things that are actually going to not just doing anything creative, but the stories that you want to tell, that you that is the one I have to tell. This is why I have to go do it. And it's a thing that, again, so to use an example of Shoal, so this is a novel that I'm trying to write. It came from an idea that I had where I was just this is awesome. Oh my God, if I write this as a script, it's a $200 million script, and that means I'm not touching it for 10 years. But I love the story and I love every aspect. Why I have this wall back here, which is all my prep notes and just chapter breakdowns and stuff like that, because it's just I had to tell this story. I want to tell the story. I love this story, and it makes it a lot easier to do that for a project that you're just this thing that I will run through a brick wall to get this thing done. So it's always something that's not just going out and trying to do something, but when you find the things that really you're this is what I have to do, it makes it so much easier.
But I am not necessarily somebody who has that, I have this story I need to tell. Once I get into a story, it picks up like that. But I don't have that mentality of I gotta tell this story. So while you're looking for it, I really do think writing prompts and writing exercises and all of that are extremely helpful. Because even if you don't love what you wrote something. And just getting started, just getting something written is putting yourself in the right direction.
To me, this is one of the most important things to remember. We all create differently. Each person brings their own process and strength to the table, and by your powers combined, that's Captain Planet. Different, but I don't know, maybe not so much. Leaving this conversation with Peter and Tommy, I'm feeling inspired to get out there, to connect to my community of creatives, and to make stuff.